Folks, well, I'm back with you again. Another day, another weekend. I'm super excited to be here. We're talking about financial literacy. And of course, I'm your host, Mike Sylvester from Grenada. And I'm just so happy to be back with you here once again. We're talking about my project and how we can help you to change your life, how we can help you to improve your life. So I just want to give a little background again before I go into today's video. This program is geared towards empowering you, to achieve your financial goals, including to become financially independent. And I want to remind you of my two components of the project: my book, The Grenadian Dream, a roadmap to a better economic and financial future. And I know some people are thinking that this book is only about Grenada, but this book, of course, has regional and international applicability, and I'm sure it would be beneficial to you. So I'm encouraging my friends out there to get a copy as soon as possible. It's available on Amazon. And the beauty of Amazon, it allows you to read a sample of the book, so that you can then determine if you want to purchase it or not. So I'm encouraging you to do that because this book is interesting, it's exciting, and it has so much to offer you to help you to improve your financial situation. And of course, the second part of this project is my weekly video, and I've been doing a little better now. This will be the second video for the past 2 weeks, after having a short break due to travels. But I'm happy to be back with you again, as I said, to talk about this week's video. And in this week's video, I want to touch on the subject that your past does not equal your future, and financial independence can be yours. And I'm going to approach this from the perspective of my own experience. I want to let you know, first of all, that I've started my financial independence journey about 5-6 years ago, and I am seeing some significant progress. I've tried many of the things that I've written in my book, and that's why I believe so much that what I'm telling you, what I'm saying to you, will help you, will benefit you, because I'm seeing it in my own life. And of course, I'm not the one to brag and boast and say anything, but I'm just telling you that it's a good realization when you think about the future, when you think about what's going to happen in the next 10-15 years. And while none of us know the future, you have to think, you have to look around you, you have to see what's happening around you, and try to think about how do you see yourself 10-15 years down the road. And it's not good enough to say that the future will take care of itself, which I think is the approach that a lot of us are using at this particular stage. So just to give you my story, is very simple. I came from very humble beginnings. My father was a laborer. He was a farmer for the most part, but he was also a jack of all trades. He fished and farmed around the house, and he fished in the nearby coastal waters of River Sally, out there in St. Patrick's, Grenada. For those of you who are from that area or who know the area that I'm talking about, I'm sure you know about Savannah, Swayze, and Liver and Batway, and all these beautiful places out there. And my mom, of course, was a homemaker, so she basically did not have any formal employment. I was, in fact, I am the last of 11 children. Between the two of them. Of course, my father had quite a bit more, and I wouldn't go into that part of it. But just to say that I came from a very large family, and we did not have a lot of monies. So, while we were never hungry, because of course, as I said, my father was a fisherman and a farmer, we always had food. So food was not an issue, but having money and so on to buy some of the fancy things that you wanted as a kid. You want a bicycle, or you want a skateboard, or you want some fancy clothes, or, we never really had that. But, that aside, I had a very exciting and very interesting childhood. The light and joy of my childhood was, of course, roaming the hills and valleys of the nearby, the village. Talking about, as I said, Savannah, Swayze, Batway, these are coastal areas. So, you get to see the Atlantic side of the ocean, and you get to see the islands that are on that's sitting over there on the coast, The landscape, all the beautiful trees, the hills, the valleys. They had a river. There was a river mouth, a river that flowed from that still flows from. I'm not sure where it flows from, but of course it ends up on a bay called Savan Swayze. And I mean, we used to bathe in that we call it a basin, or it's very nice. When I think back and I look at the water door, I probably wouldn't go in there now, but I mean, it was really enjoyable at the time. And that was part of it. I mean, I went to school in a nearby primary school. Had so much fun. We had this big pasture that it doubled as a playing field, and people also tie the sheep and the goats and so on, and cows in the past. Yeah. And of course, the school had part of it where we played after school or during break time and so on. That was part of it. And I mean, it was a very exciting experience. After primary school, of course, we went to the nearby secondary school. I mean, we had two secondary schools in the area, and you basically decided where you wanted to go. And of course, I chose the one where I had to walk to school because, of course, I know we had difficulties paying bus and so on to get to school. And it was also exciting because, a number of us in the village had to walk to go to the nearby school, and it was a Grenada Seventh-day Adventist Comprehensive School. And, it was always fun walking to and from school. And I mean, I really had a very interesting and exciting childhood experience. But the thing about it, as I said, it was, you struggle along because you never had a lot of means. And so, I mean, I went to school, primary school, for instance, bare feet. When I went to secondary school, I had a Chinese shoe. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but these flat shoes, very cheap. That I think they are imported from China, and you used to get one for like $10-15. I mean, and that's what you had. That's what you had to deal with. You know, and most of my clothing was basically hand me down. So my brothers, after they used clothes and they no longer it was too small for them now, then we got them as kids coming up, you know, and you did that for a while. You when you look around the village, you had a number of persons had families away. We had families in America, families in Canada, families in England. And ever so often they would get these barrels and they would get these boxes of clothes and so on. And we just never had that. I never had anyone overseas until very lately. So that part of it, I think, was a difficult part for me. Seeing other people getting stuff and you can't get. And I used to ask my mother, what is happening? When will I get my barrel? And she would say to me, then, and Mike, you don't know what these people had. You don't know what they did or had to do to get the stuff. Be content with what you have. Do not envy other people. Do not jealous other people. Just focus on what you need to do. And one thing, I mean, my parents, they were a stickler for going to school, and you had to be. I mean, you could be sick, you could be dragging. I mean, you had to get you had to get to school, and there could be no excuse good enough. And I think that for whatever reason, I don't know what was the driving force behind that. But I think you have to thank them for that as well, because I think education is one of the things that will help a lot of poor families and so on. Get out of poverty and be able to make a decent life. So I've said all of this to say that after school, of course, I was able to get a partial to a scholarship. So I went to university. Again, it was a very difficult time. Having to balance work and school and hunger. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever felt, hunger. And I mean, those days, it was really tough for me. I remember looking at the past picture, and I mean, I was really like a shriek of misery. You could have seen, the misery on my face. And it was not. I mean, it was really bad, and I think the fact of the matter is that I just had the tenacity of a bulldog. I was just persevering because I believe, I wanted to change my circumstance. I wanted to change my situation. And so I really, want to thank those who stood by me. I want to thank those who supported me, over the years, my brothers and sisters, of course. I had other family who supported me, whether it's emotionally, financially, otherwise, and so that was that. And of course, came back to Grenada after some years and started working. I started working in a job that I was overqualified, and of course, I was underpaid. But that didn't deter me until I got into a government job and I started working there, and I sort of worked my way up the ladder. And I mean, over the years, as I said, I've had some setbacks. Of course, I had some opportunities, and at the end of the day, I think God has blessed me significantly, and I'm still in the process. But I think of late, as I said, after having worked all those years and having experimented with a number of things, I've made thousands and thousands of financial decisions. Like I was just talking to my wife, and I said to her, we've made a lot of decisions, and we've never really sat back and said, why are we making X and why are we making Y? Why are we making X as opposed to Y? And I think the reason behind that is that this lack of financial education, this I don't know why, for instance, it's not being taught in our schools. And had I known what I know now many years ago, I think I would have been far advanced in terms of where I want to be financially and otherwise. And so that is why I strongly believe, and I want to encourage persons to, get your kids, on board, get yourself on board. It's not too late to start. And, it's always better, as I said, if you're prepared. They say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So don't let this message fall on deaf ears. You don't want to be 60, 70, and after having worked for X amount of years, you basically have to beg to continue to live, or you have to struggle, to enjoy the lifestyle that you enjoyed before because you didn't plan properly. So, my friends, get a copy of my book. As I said, this is a very interesting book. This book, it talks about the ideal, the ideal for Grenada. In other words, what we can do as a people if we come together, and if we, of course, own the dream of making Grenada the best it can be. This is part of the book, and the book also speaks, as I said, to the whole aspect of financial literacy and what role it can play, in helping persons achieve their financial goals. Just imagine, I mean, if everybody is financially independent, then what does that mean? It means that we are all okay. Just think about it. It's as simple as that. And I think the profoundness of that statement is lost in the simplicity because people just not thinking about it very, 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 very carefully and very strongly. So I know I'm talking a lot. I'm a bit emotional as well, because I just think what I'm talking about is so very important, and I want to encourage everyone out there, get on board, join this conversation, and let us make a better way for all of us. So, my friends, I will stop here. I look forward again to joining you next week for another episode of Better Future Conversations. And I've given myself a name. I'll tell you next video. Don't worry. Take care. Bye-bye.